You are 29 years old and you are good at your job. Your managing director has started leaving the room when you present. He trusts your numbers, which means you sleep better than most of your colleagues. You cover mid-cap industrials at a second-tier asset manager in Chicago. Your fund holds for $0.2 billion across 60 positions. You own 8 of them. Every morning you arrive before 6. Open your 3 monitors and begin reading earnings releases. Management committee, sell-side updates that say nothing. You believe the market is a mechanism for price discovery. Your job is to find where the mechanism is wrong. That belief is about to be corrected. The call comes on a Tuesday in October just before close. It is a number you don't recognize. The voice is calm. The surgeons are calm. The voice belongs to a man named Garrett Whitmore. He represents a family office managing $3.1 billion in private assets. The family holds 22% of Arden Industrial, one of your 8 companies. He would like to meet this week before Friday's earnings call. You go. The office is in the West Loop. No signage. The elevator requires a key card. You press the card against the reader. The floor requires access. Whitmore is mid-50s, silver at the temples, white open collar shirt, noti. He pours 2 glasses of water without asking and sets a folder on the table. Inside your last 3/4 line it's on Arden, annotated in blue pen, not highlighted. Annotated. Someone has been reading you carefully. The family bought Arden 11 years ago for $1. It trades at $31 today. He says the family has no intention of selling. 600% return stock fully valued. You say, why not sell? Basic portfolio management. Whitmore looks at you the way a chess player looks at someone who moved their queen into danger. He says, walk me through the tax. Federal gains at 20%. Net investment income at 3.8. Illinois at 4.95. On $280 million in unrealized gains. Asali means roughly $80 million in tax permanently, you say. That's the cost of realizing the gain, Whitmore says. Or it's the cost we choose not to pay. He slides a term sheet across the table. A $190 million lending facility. 3.4% annually. No tax event. Liquidity is borrowed into existence. The asset continues to compound. They never gave it up. You were quiet for a long time. Whitmore says, our job is to make sure we never have to find another security again. You take the engagement. You do not fully understand him yet. That is when your education begins. The first year is technical. You work on family's portfolio architecture, note allocation in the traditional sense, something far more structural. Real estate held through a series of LLCs, each one a separate legal container. Equity positions held in a trust designed to step up cost basis at death, embedded gains eliminated for heirs entirely. The government never sees the appreciation, a stake in a private credit firm, carried interest taxed at long-term capital gains rates. Every asset chosen for tax character and leverage utility, not just return. This is not a portfolio. It is a machine designed to generate spending power indefinitely with it triggering the event that diminishes it. You model it one night at 11 alone in the office. Scenario 1. The family sells Arden, pays the tax, and reinvests at 8% annually. Scenario 2. The family borrows at 3.4%, retains the position, and lets it compound. You run it forward 30 years. The gap isn't incremental. It is generational. $340 million more. Not from a better investment. The return assumption is identical. The only difference is what they refuse to pay. The math is not subtle. It is almost brutally obvious since you see it. You wonder briefly why no one taught it anywhere. Then you stop wondering. You understand why they didn't. This is what they built. And now you are inside it. In the second year, Whitmore introduces you to a second family, third generation, older wealth. A network that operates through referral-only toll roads. A water utility, a portfolio of cell towers. These assets do not marry lyaprsite. They generate cash every month regardless of market conditions, regardless of interest rate cycles. The family calls this permanent income, income that cannot be stopped. In a meeting, the family patriarch is presented with an offer to sell the water utility. The offer is clean, 12 times EBITDA, sovereign wealth fund buyer. The implied sale price, $680 million, clean clothes in 60 days. The family scos basis, $18 million from a purchase made in 1987. The patriarch does not ask about the buyer. He does not ask about the multiple. He asks a single question. What do we borrow against it today? The answer is $290 million at 4.1%. He says, that's enough for the next project, and thanks to everyone for their time. You understand? The offer was never real to him. Selling is not a transaction. Selling is an ending. Every asset is a permanent claim on the world's productive output. To sell, it is to trade a permanent claim for a temporary pool of cash. Cash that will be taxed, spent, or poorly reinvested. The wealthy do not sell because selling is the worst thing you can do with an asset that is working. You walked in thinking about exits. You walk out thinking about forever. By the third year, you are no longer observing. You are building. You are bringing a tech founder with $1.4 billion in a single equity position. He cannot sell without collapsing the stock price and triggering a catastrophic tax event simultaneously. You construct a solution using exchange funds. The founder contributes his position to a partnership. Gain deferred entirely. The mechanics take for months. Legal fees alone to $0.4 million. When it closes, the founder calls you from a boat somewhere. He says he feels like he won something. He moved the pieces better than most people know how pieces can be moved. You begin to understand leverage differently, not as risk, as a tool. A tool for creating liquidity from illiquidity without ever touching the asset. The very wealthy do not think in portfolio volatility. They think in collateral quality. A piece of real estate earns rents, but it also secures a credit facility at 50% loan to value, which funds will fund the next acquisition. This is also used as collateral. Which funds are next? The assets are not a stack. They are a lattice. Each one supports the weight of the others. Selling one piece does not merely remove its contribution. It weakens every surrounding node. You stop thinking in positions. You start thinking in structures. In the fourth year, you are brought in quietly to advise on a restructuring. A publicly traded holding company is under pressure from an activist investor. The activist is demanding the sale of its real estate assets. The activist is correct about the valuation. The logic is clean. Exactly the kind of logic used when you believed in price discovery, but you are no longer on that side. The controlling shareholder owns 41% of the equity. 2 generations of family ownership. Cost basis negligible. Embedded. Gain $940 million. A sale would cost $260 million in taxes alone before a single dollar is reinvested. It would also sever an income stream generating $38 million annually forever and surrender voting control over etfs markets for the next 40 years. That influence does not appear on a spreadsheet. You cannot model it. It is structural power compounding, not in dollars, but in access and relationships. You build the defense, a recapitalization, a leveraged dividend to return capital without triggering a sale. REIT restructuring, offering the activist partial liquidity without forcing full disposition. The activist accepts, the family keeps the assets. The family keeps the city blocks. Whitmore says, you understand now, Udo, the city blocks remain. The income continues. The game moves to the next level. The wealthy do not sell because every sale is a permanent subtraction. Real wealth is built on the refusal to subtract. An asset in motion, generating income, serving as collateral, compounding, is categorically different from cash. Cash is inert, taxed when it tariffs, eroded by inflation while it waits. An asset is alive. A toll road does not stop collecting tolls because its owner is having a bad quarter. The sophisticated owner borrows against the operation, paying interest lower than the asset's yield, pocketing the spread, compounding the difference into the next acquisition. The tax code is not a constant. It is a variable that responds to structure. The family that sells pays. The family that borrows does not. The family that holds until death passes the asset with a stepped-up cost basis. The government never sees the gain. This is not evasion. It is architecture. Every wealthy family of duration has an architect. Most people do not know the architect exists. Your network has narrowed dramatically in number and widened dramatically in utility. Most conversations have become performance. You cannot discuss your actual work in most rooms. The gap between what you know and what can be said becomes a permanent interior condition. Now you are working on something larger than anything you have touched before. An offer has arrived valuing it at $2.8 billion. The embedded gain $1.9 billion. The tax depending on structure ranges from $380 million to $560 million. You are threading liquidity and tax defraud through the same needle. The legal structure spans 3 jurisdictions. Theirs has been watching for 18 months. 3 weeks ago, a similar structure at another family office was challenged. The outcome is not yet known. You are building something that might not hold. You are building it anyway. Encoded into family policy. For generations. We don't sell. The markets open tomorrow. Tax Council answers in 3 weeks. Fee Consortium's exclusivity expires in 6. You hold the map. You do not own that old roads. You do not own the city blocks. Another family is waiting. Another position. Another embedded gain. The gain continues.